your attorney can be one of the most important people in your life. And today we have the privilege of speaking with Chris Melcher, who is a high-profile divorce attorney out of Los Angeles. And Chris and I, we're going to be having a conversation about how to pick an attorney. Talk about how to find the right attorney, how to find an attorney who has the type of communication style that you need, some red flags to look for before hiring your attorney, and some questions to ask your attorney prior to beginning an engagement. And also, please check out our updated website, www.weeklywealthpodcast.com. We have our new roadmap to financial success that you can download. And please tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell your family members, tell your colleagues about our podcast and help us to build our tribe. We hope that you enjoy this episode.
This is the Weekly Wealth Podcast with certified financial planner David Chuddick, where we discuss the wealth building mindsets and tactics that can help you to build and maintain wealth for you, your family, and your business.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Wealth Podcast. We are a podcast where we talk about the mindsets, the tactics, and the strategies to help you to build and maintain wealth. My name is David Chuddick, and I am a financial advisor with Parallel Financial. And what that means is I help my clients to make the best possible financial decisions for them for the reasons that are important to them. So if you've ever wondered what it's like to work with a financial advisor, email me, David, at parallelfinancial.com. We can set up a 30-minute consultation by phone, by Zoom, or in person if you're local, and we can just chat about the things that are keeping you up at night. But today we're talking a little bit of a different topic. We're talking with Chris Melcher, and he is a high-profile divorce attorney. But we're going to talk about the attorney business in general, how to pick an attorney, and just those things like that, because attorneys are part of that subset of society that you don't need them till you need them, and then they're pretty darn important. So, hey, Chris, how are you?
Fine, David. Thanks for having me on the show. And I'm super happy to be talking about this topic because as a lawyer, I'm seeing clients sometimes pick a great advocate and doing really well with it. And then also other times picking the wrong person and suffering for it. So my goal here in the time that we're spending together is to share, like, what would I do if I was looking for a lawyer for myself, and share those kind of tips. So if any of you find yourself in a position where you have to hire a lawyer, you're going to be in a lot better position.
Yeah. So obviously you passed the bar, and your main area of practice is divorce. But legally, you could try a death row case, right? You'd probably lose because is that kind of like, people think attorneys know every part of the law, but you don't even know all the divorce law, right? And certainly in other parts of the law, you probably have very, very little knowledge.
That's right. You bring up a great point, David, is that in law, once you get your license, you could take a death row murder trial. You could do a divorce case. You could handle a business dispute case. The license applies across your state and without restriction. Unlike other areas, other professions where the license would be limited or specialized, we just kind of turn these lawyers loose. And it's a failure of the system, I think, because not all lawyers have the same experience and passionate about the law. And how is the client to know? And so there are some analogies to medicine that we can get into, because you're more likely to have picked a doctor. You're more likely to have gone to a doctor many times and understand what their specialization is, but you're probably unlikely to have dealt with a lawyer before. So that is a parallel that we may be using in some of this to understand, like, how you're going to actually pick a lawyer.
Sure. Well, and I want to preface this whole episode, because I'm talking to a divorce attorney right now. I just hit my 22nd wedding anniversary, and you and I kind of met up through some internet networking sites. But everybody out there, every guy is fighting for the title of having the second best wife out there, because I have the first. So if anybody's listening, no, I am not using Chris for a divorce attorney, and I will never need a divorce attorney. So we have that out of the way. But let me ask you this. So did you take more classes regarding divorce law in law school than maybe somebody else who took business classes because they're more of a business law? Or do you get your experience and expertise kind of once you're post law school?
It's all post law school. That in law school they teach you how to analyze a legal problem, but they do not teach you how to practice law. That when I was in law school, and I graduated in 1993, I was going to be a corporate securities attorney. That was my goal. And so the classes that I took.
Are you crazy? I mean, why would anybody have that as a goal, a corporate securities attorney?
Because you can make a lot of money doing
There you go. All right.
So unfortunately, though, when I got out, the economy was in recession and there was no hiring. So I had a very humble beginning, or humble start to my career, and I was practicing law out of my bedroom in my parents' house, and started doing personal injury, plaintiff side, doing criminal defense, and made enough money where I was able to buy a house and do fairly well. But it was through happenstance that I got into divorce law, and in 2002 met up with a gentleman, Peter Walzer, who had an office down the hall from me, and he was a family law specialist on his own with it. And we hooked up together, and me, him, and a secretary then all these years later have built a law firm, 8 lawyers, only handling divorce throughout the state of California. We have high profile clientele. I mean, A-list celebrities. I represented billionaires. It's an amazing transformation, but it was all learned during practice of law. I don't really reach back to much of law school experience for it. It was me going out there and figuring this stuff out case by case, oftentimes losing, and then just having a passion for law. I eat, sleep, drink, everything family law.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool stuff. So if I needed an attorney of any kind, whether it be business law or I'm buying some property or criminal defense or any of them, I mean, law is such a broad category. how would I know who's the attorney that I should pick? Like, I don't know where you went to law school. Does it matter? Are different law schools, do they prepare you better to think about law? What are some of the things that you would look for if you needed an attorney yourself?
Sure. And I've given this a lot of thought because it's easy for me to say as a divorce lawyer in Los Angeles who to pick because I know everybody. So I'm looking at it from the client's perspective. And we have a lot of difficulty, I think, as a client trying to pick a lawyer because, like I said, this may be the first time that you've ever had to select one. Number two, there's a legal problem going on that may be stressful to you, highly personal, like a divorce, or you're getting sued, or you got injured. So that's going to affect things. And then there may be urgency, so that there may not be a lot of time to select the lawyer. So all these things are kind of working against you. And so many people will go to the internet and look. That is one avenue. But when you're looking at that, the website of the lawyer is basically a fluff piece. It's their communication that they're writing about themselves. And it's all like, oh, this person is so great. I don't really pay much attention to that. There's rating services like Super Lawyers. I don't pay any attention to that because those mean nothing. And what I would be looking for certainly on the internet is going to the state bar website for your state and seeing if there's a record of discipline, because if there is, that's a huge red flag. And so I would be checking their license and seeing what they're posting or other people are posting about them on the internet. So that would be one step on definitely the internet search. The website that the lawyer has will be helpful in terms of specialization, because if you go on their site and you're looking, say, for a divorce attorney, and it says, oh, I do divorce, but I also do criminal defense and personal injury and business disputes, go to the next page. You do not want that lawyer because they're a generalist and they're going to be good at nothing. And so you want to find somebody who's dedicated themselves to the area of law that you need help with. And so that would be one huge thing to do. Now, I have other tips to share here for sure, but my top tip, if we want to just get right to it.
Let's hear the top tip.
The top tip is find this, go on the internet, do your research, go check with friends for referrals, identify the most expensive lawyer in town, the most high profile lawyer in town, call that person's secretary and say, hey, I see you're out here. And admit if you can't afford that firm. I can't afford you guys. I'm looking for a divorce lawyer. I'm looking for a personal injury lawyer. I'm looking for a criminal defense attorney in your community. Could you help me with a referral? These firms, like my own, if we get 100 calls, we're going to probably take one or two of those clients. We are super selective on who we take, and that means we're referring everybody else, and that means we already have the referral list. We already know who's good in these areas and can match people up. We don't get paid for it. We just hey, we're not going to be able to help you, but here are a list of people who can. That's coming from somebody who knows who's good or bad in your community. So that is my top tip. Go to the most expensive lawyer, tell them hey, I don't want to waste your time, but could you give me a referral? Now you're getting a referral from a lawyer to another lawyer. That is powerful.
So if you're in small town USA, not Los Angeles, do you kind of just generally say, hey, that guy has the nicest building and he's probably the most expensive? How do you know how much an attorney charges?
So, and it's hard. When the smaller the community, the less chance there's going to be of specialization. Mm-hmm. And because you're generally going to have people who are going to have multiple practice areas in a smaller community, and that's fine. Now, certainly, if the person is successful, they should be busy. And so we do judge some of this. I hate to say that, but it's lawyers make good money, and if they're successful, they're going to have a nice office, and they're going to have a nice website, and they're going to have staff answering a phone and being responsive. So these are some ideas because you're going to spend, all lawyers are expensive. Doesn't matter who you hire. They're all going to charge a lot of money. A stupid amount of money per hour.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, because, as a client, you might say, why the heck is this guy charging me so much money? All lawyers are crooks, and they just charge too much. So obviously, I believe everybody should get paid and everything. And some people may think that my fees are too high. And are we paying for expertise, or why does it need to cost that much?
I hate it. I hate it how expensive it is. And for me, I'll use myself as an example. I'm $850 an hour, and that's on the low side. I could be $1,000. I could literally charge $1,000 an hour for what I'm doing in my area. I cannot afford myself. If God forbid my wife left me, I could not afford my own law firm that I'm a co-owner of to represent me.
Wow.
It is that expensive. And how is it that expensive? Well, overhead. We have 8 lawyers. Could you imagine the payroll that is required to, most people can't afford a lawyer for an hour. A law firm has to pay the salaries of lawyers for a year, and the office and the malpractice insurance. The admin overhead is on top of that, non-billable time. It is an enormous amount of money to run a law firm, and that's why the hourly rates are high. Now, what we're seeing, though, is firms like mine who have the infrastructure, and we have systems in place, we have the best technology, we invest constantly into our business, we pay our people well, we have lots of staff, and that's why our overhead is so high. But then we see other lawyers who are basically solos, who don't have any infrastructure, don't have any systems in place, don't even have an office, don't even have staff, but they're charging similar rates.